Welcome, Sven, to Dargeti website pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about the band, about this new album, Mania Cult, and other things into the metal scene. Starting with the history of the band, I see that you are the last member since Purity of Perversion, so 1999. But Aborted
Yeah.
started at 1995, or perhaps 94, according from of many bands. So, what does it feel to be in the band for 26 years now? What is for you? What is the difference from the first album to this maniacal with members, production, recording process, everything?
Well, I feel old, that's for sure. So there's that. I mean, a lot older and wiser, I guess. Things are very different now than they were back then. We didn't have any real budget. We didn't, it was just starting. So, back then when we started, we were already like, holy shit, can we ever put out a CD? Because that was a big thing, back then. I actually found a label, did the record, and it's just moved on from there, and then now we're at where we're at. So, a very big change from back in '99 for sure.
Okay, so among or between the purity of perversion and engineering the dead, the band changed with the sound and influence, cause you did in the
Mhm.
first album something more brutal and rawer within the death metal, and then your second album the music started to be more groove and a little technical without the brutal influence. So can we say that Engineer of Death from 2001 was the beginning of the current sound in Aborted? Was perhaps natural or who knows?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't see the purity of perversion as that much of a brutal record. I mean, maybe it sounds brutal because the production was pretty shitty. And I mean, I had to record that record under very shitty circumstances. I was very sick when I recorded, so there's definitely a difference there. I think, there's already a lot of groove type of stuff in the purity of perversion. I think engineering the dead was just, I think, more technical, and we had a bit more budget. We had a proper label. We put more time in the studio. I think Purity of Perversion was done in maybe a week, and Engineering the Dead took like 3 weeks. So I think it was just, a different level of working than we did on the first record. Did it set the standard? Yes and no, because there's been, we've done many different things throughout the records, but it was definitely where, anything serious started. That's for sure.
Okay, so Gormageddon, your third album, is the best album from the first wave with aborted sound. But at the same time, the
Mhm.
band changed almost members, and this situation continues to this 2010 with Ken on drums, then second member with more than 10 years in the band. So why it is
Mm.
difficult to maintain the same lineup from the beginning in a band like Aborted? Because many people here in Latin America gladly stayed in the band with you in a band like Aborted until the last day for the band. It perhaps is the band demands a lot of commitment, problems, who knows?
I mean, it's very simple, where we live. I mean, especially, let's say a country like Belgium. When you play this kind of music, you don't make a lot of money. A lot of times it's just, it's a hobby because it's extreme metal. It takes a lot of your time when you're touring. You're away from your family a lot, if you have a relationship and all that stuff. So when you're gone for, let's say, half the year, there's a lot of people that can't handle that to begin with, the touring aspect. And then second of all, now we're doing fine, but back in the beginning, or let's say 10 years ago or more, it wasn't as easy. So you have to work your way up. So that means a lot of sacrifice. You're gone a lot. You don't necessarily make, a lot of money. So at some point, people just don't want to be gone that much. They don't want to tour, or they want to have a job at home and focus on making a career, which it's fine. Everybody has their own priorities, but that's basically where it goes to. And then there's incompatibilities, incompatibilities. That happens too, you know,
Okay,
like in
speaking.
anything.
Okay, speaking of the lineup changes in the band, there are some comments from
Mhm.
critics, writers, and fans who say that when the band keeps changing lineup over the years, the sound of the band is distorted by the different influence of the new members. So, do you think that when a new member enters the band, this new member changes the sound of the band completely?
No, not really. For the last couple of records, it's actually been Ken writing most of the stuff. So he's been the main songwriter, so I wouldn't say so. And I think, you know, when people join the band, the at least most of the people that joined the band joined it because they were fans of the band and they, you know, they liked the band as this. So they always wrote as if they were writing for the band. It's not like they're trying to really change things, except, you know, that's sort of what happened with Strychnine. But other than that, no, not really. Plus, I keep an eye out on it. Does it fit within the, you know, the universe of the band or not?
Okay, okay. So watching the discography of the band from Gormageddon to Strict 9213, the covers of the band were always with the details of the 3D design, and then from the global flatline to this many cult, you decide to put drawings with a lot of color like the bands of the 90s into the brutal death metal way. So why did you decide to go back in time with this kind of presentation on the cover arts?
I think it just fits the band better. We always wanted to do it in the past, but it wasn't really available to us at that point because, you know, if you look back at Seagrave or Ben Scooter back in the day, that was super, super expensive and we couldn't really afford it. Nowadays, there's a lot of artists, and just the 80s horror universe is just really where it's at for us. You know, we're a bunch of slasher nerds, so that's what fits who we are. That's what fits the music, and that's why we chose to go that way.
Okay. So, into this matter of the cover arts, and did you ever think, since global flatline, that you could do a comic or manga with the Doctor or the Butcher of the cover art, or perhaps a video game for the cell phone, because there's a lot of material into your cover arts.
Yeah, we did a cell phone game on Global Flatline. We made an application and had a mini game, and we actually made tried to make an actual computer game that we were going to give with. I think it was for Retro Gore
Okay.
that we did it, but like we paid a developer. He started to work on it, and the guy never finished the game and ran away with the money. So it never happened, but we tried. It's just hard to find, uh, you know, reliable people for this kind of stuff sometimes that want to put in the work and all that. But yeah, we tried, and as far as a graphic novel goes, I'd love to. Maybe, you know, one day it happens.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
Okay, speaking of the subjects of the comics, manga, and video games, maybe do you have one that marks your influence to write the lyrics and Aborted, an album or song? And what do you think about this current stuff of gore horror that exists into the video games with gutting, mutilation, beheading, with a lot of first person shooter that you can, with a shotgun, whoa, you head off a lot of things.
Man, that's fine by me. You know, it's the same to me as watching a horror movie, only you're playing in one. So it's obviously you don't play these video games or watch horror films and go outside and take a shotgun and shoot people in the face. So it's just the, you know, the experience. You know, you watching a horror movie, you, for a certain reason, the same way you play a horror game for the same reason, for the suspense.
Yeah.
You know, it scares you for some people. You know, it doesn't really scare me, but it's fun, it's exciting. As far as games go, I mean, this year I played the new Resident Evil, which was fantastic.
Great. I love it. That. Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay. So after so many years writing about the terror and death, how do you live with that in your day by day? It's easy to write a song like prolific murder contrabands and then be a man who support her family.
I mean, yeah, in my daily life, I'm a designer, so I design applications. Like the last year, I worked for a bank, so very, very, very different than the stuff I'm doing with the bands. But yeah, I mean, it's I think I'm fairly normal. But the thing is with the band that this, yes, it's all horror and gore, but a lot of the times there's actually a message behind, which is the case with Mania Cult as well. So it's not just a good old slasher fun just for fun. There's usually like a hidden thing somewhere.
Okay, okay. So, relating the last question, the topic of the pandemic is one of the took many lives in the world, but at the same time, it's a topic that many extreme metal bands around talk about for many years. I think since the 80s, many people, many bands like Mayhem, like Morbid Angel, Napalm, all these kind of bands wants to the end of the days, the end of the world, the end of the humankind, some kind of stuff. So, but now but this time the misanthropic, the end of the days, the chaos, the politic subjects into this matter. So how does Aborted see this pandemic, and how could this idea to be complemented with the music of Aborted?
Well, how I see the pandemic is
Yeah.
that's fucking terrible. It sucks. Lots of people died, and it's brought up a really really ugly side to people. And there's more division, I think, than ever. People can't seem to be able to have a discussion and disagree about things anymore. You're either one side or the next, and I think that's a big problem. That's in the current climate of the world. What do we do with it? Nothing really. I think Maniacal's theme is more about the craziness and the reactions that came from that whole situation. As it's more of it's more about mental health issues. So if you see the cover, you see the maniac,
Yeah, yeah.
and the fucking things coming out of him, it's voices in his head. So it's really more about the mental health issues and those kind of problems that are very apparent more and more in today's society.
Okay, so talking about this issue of deaths in the world and relating to the Mania cult, what did you decide to put that title, Cult to the Maniac? Well, that's I think the perfect translation, so Cult to the Maniac, with a political theme and the heads with I think with the heads for me represent many countries with a lot of problems with a person in a suitcase. So, and what is the story behind the Drag Me to Hell beyond the lyrics? Because there is a movie called Drag Me to Hell in 2009.
Yeah,
Can the concept
it's
of the
about the movie.
witchcraft, yeah, can the concept of witchcraft in the movie be related with this song?
I mean, the song is literally about the movie. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the movie because I thought it's great. It's campy. It's silly, but it's also it's yeah. I think it's a great concept. When I saw it, I didn't know Sam Raimi did it, but it made absolute fucking sense that it's got that goofy Evil Dead kind of horror. I can't count how many times that girl got some shit, gruesome shit in her mouth, which was hilarious. But yeah, it's a great movie, so that's why I decided to throw it in there, and it just fit the whole concept, because the person is going through hell, with the whole crap that is going on in his mind. I don't think we thought of it in a political way so much, more as in a way that there's a lot of craziness going on. And people only see their own perspective and they're not open to the perspective of others. I think that was more what we're going for.
Okay, another song that caught my attention is Dementophobia, cause
Mm.
the initial solo guitar and the riff that continues in the song, it has very similar weight of Carcass did in the surgical state. I feel that kind of vibe. So what albums did you take as influence to make this new album?
I don't think we took any albums like as specific influence. We just wrote what came out. Like I said, Ken wrote probably 90% of the album. And Ken doesn't really listen to that much metal, so he just writes what comes up to his mind and what he thinks is cool. he comes up with the ideas, and then as the whole band, we just we fine tune everything. But there wasn't really a album or anything specific in mind for sure.
Okay, okay.
I do get the Carcass comparison though.
Okay, okay. So I'm listening to all aborted albums, and one of the best things of all aborted albums in your also in your past projects like Lentle, like Inquest, System Divide, They Swarm, so and more bands that you had. And for me, is the thing is the amazing one is your voice. What do you do to maintain your voice? And what vocalists were your influence to or your own sound since engineered by that? Because it's very when I hear all your projects, it's just if in a brutal death metal fan as I am, so I said when I hear the first time System Divide, that's Sven singing. When I hear this they swarm, that's Sven singing. So how you maintain your voice, exercise? So who knows?
Thank you. I just get really angry. No, it's I think especially throughout the years, it's just getting to know your body and know what signals it sends you. Drink enough water, make sure you sleep enough, and make sure you warm up enough. As far as influences go, when we started, what really made me want to do this kind of stuff was Frank Mullen from Suffocation for sure.
Yeah.
Bo Summers from Ill Disposed and Jeff Walker from Carcass. I think those three were like my main influences when starting. And it obviously evolved throughout the years. There's more awesome singers out there now. There's some really crazy guys out there. Dickie Allen, for example, does some really crazy shit with the high vocals. Travis Ryan really has his own thing going on. So there's a lot of great singers out there, man. And I think one of the best things you can do as a singer, even if you're screaming, whatever, is just try to have your own sound.
Yeah.
Don't try to imitate, but make your own thing.
Yeah, that's very there. But as you said, so many artists there into the extreme metal with singing. Travis Ryan is a great example for personal sound. But you have too. For
Hmm.
me, it's too. It's very difficult. For me,
Thank you.
well, okay. So, into these 26 years and touring around the world with Aborted, I saw that the only countries that you played in Latin America was Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil. So how were the presentations there? And what American what Latin American bands do you know apart from the usual suspects, Sepultura, Sarcophago, Christians? And why never Aborted embark in a tour here in Latin America?
It's hard, man. It's hard to find promoters that wanted to do it. It's something that's been on our roadmap for a long time. We wanted to come back to Brazil, but the guy that booked us the first time stopped booking. I think it's the guy from Nervo Chaos,
Okay.
a Brazilian band. We also know, Centinex from Mexico. I know some bands, like I just can't think of them right now off the top of my head. We played with a bunch of really, really cool bands when we toured Brazil, and honestly, I love touring Brazil. And honestly, the crowd in Latin America is fantastic. So we're really hoping that we can make it out there once the whole pandemic bullshit is over and we can tour again. We'd love to make it over there and then, do visit Argentina, Chile, all those countries. There's a lot of really cool places we haven't been to yet.
Okay. Until here, we spoke about the band, about the history, about this new album, about the sound, about your voice. So now we will speak about other matters into the heavy metal world because this world is with many things like underground, like the mainstream, like the formats, like the digital formats, and more things. So now starting with these kind of questions. So now we're speaking the metal extreme worldwide. Cause it's denoted that this style is one of that continues to grow up with more and more expressions that have nothing to do with extreme music from the 80s and 90s. So as you can hear Cattle Decapitation, you can hear Piron, you can hear Imperial Triumph, and you can hear Aborted from now. It's very different from the Morbid Angel, from Nepal and more bands. So why the extreme music keeps continues to grow up with more expressions or with more creativity than all the styles. And all the styles, I mean, there's heavy metal, thrash metal, power metal, speed metal. I think hard rock more.
Mm. Well, I don't know. I honestly don't really listen to a lot of those kind of. I don't like power metal too much, nor any of that stuff. So I don't pay attention. But I think the reason why the extreme metal is evolving a lot through the years is because you keep pushing stuff more extreme, and people always want to go one step further. You know, bands keep on getting faster, they keep on getting more technical, and I think part of it is also because of the internet, because there's a lot more knowledge out there now. You know, people can get drum lessons from whoever they want. You know, back in the day, you had some shitty VHS tapes or some DVDs you could
Yeah.
get, and maybe, you know, learn some things, or you had to figure it out yourself as a drummer or a guitarist or anything. And now those kids can go on YouTube or whatever, they can learn whatever they want to. And you know, there's so much more knowledge out there. There's so much more technology when recording too, that the limits are much, you know, greater than, or the limits everything is much more vast than it was, let's say, 20 years ago.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that's right. So, into the matter of how an underground band and a conventional band what should be considered, there are patterns that are more vinyl and vinyl cassette production sticks to this underground metal concept. Especially here in Latin America, when you collect just vinyl and cassette, you are a true fan. But if you collect CD, they think that the CD only expand the collection. NOS is a collectible format. So, what do you think
Mhm.
are the factors for the fans to stick to this underground metal concept? And where is located the digital platforms? Because the digital platforms is, for me, is the new wave of interchange music or sharing music with person in Indonesia and Japan, and I think in Iceland. So who knows?
I think, I mean, I also personally, I started collecting much more vinyl again. Because it just has a certain feeling to it. The artwork's really big. It just looks cool. Vinyl just it's cool. Where the CD was just, I'd say, a functional step up from what tapes were, because you know the quality stays the same. It doesn't break as easy. But as time evolved, I think digital kind of made has made the CD more or less obsolete in a way, because you can listen to your, you know, your digital streaming in your car and your whatever. When you're going out, it's easy to just listen in your headphones, whatever. It's very mobile. You don't need to carry 50 CDs with you, and when you're at home, you can play the vinyl and take your time and absorb the music. So I think those are the two main things right now. It's surprising that the tape is back, because I grew up when tapes were a thing, and they sucked back then. They still suck.
Yeah,
Don't bring the tape.
yeah,
Just it's not cool. Stop trying to make it cool. It's not.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, unless you want to make a mixtape for your girlfriend, go for it. But it tapes suck ass, man. I mean, vinyl sounds great. I love it. But yeah, I think the CD has served its purpose for what it is, and I'm very appreciative of people that still buy them. I think still a very cool medium to have. You can still do a lot of, you know, interesting packaging things with it, which is awesome for the fans. But you know, I think vinyl, and that's what you notice as a band too. You know, vinyl sales are up 300, 400%, and the CD is going down. It's just how it is, and that's how always how the music industry has been evolving. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, according to some words that you said, is the digital platforms is now the way to hear in the car, in walking, start jogging in the gym. So who knows who prefer the to listen to music with the digital platforms. But with this kind of stuff, these new generations prefers to hear the music with one, two, three, and perhaps four songs into the digital platforms. And this new generation, they love to do this playlist with the singles of the album. So,
Hmm.
what do you think about the albums doesn't have the same impact compared to the 80s and 90s? And what that band needs to do to improve the listeners of all songs in an album?
I think that's a generation shift, honestly. I still listen to full records because, when you used to go to the record store, buy a CD or a vinyl, whatever, all your money went into it, and you would listen to that fucking album until it was destroyed. You wanted to know it inside out, and that was the whole experience. Where there was also less available. Let's be honest. I mean, now there's what how many thousand songs or CDs coming out every month? It's crazy. So
Yeah.
I understand that it's hard to keep your attention focused on something, but bands are still writing albums and they're not writing three, four singles with a bunch of garbage next to it. So I don't know how to make it better besides telling people, listen to the album, because a lot of the times the bands are telling a story with that. There's a lot of different things going on, and check out the whole thing.
Okay, okay. So we're very close to end this interview. And one question that has been asking a lot of brutal death metal bands, technical metal bands, why the logo of the bands are like a bugger in the wall, like the blood in the floor. So why?
Because it's brutal, man. I mean, the same reason why my lyrics aren't about the fucking love boat. It's heavy music. They have something heavy and disgusting with it.
Okay, okay. Well, talking about the technology, you said about the new forms of recording music. Well, the technology is a great example for this new stuff, for the new stuff. So, what do you think about the bands that prefers to do the things or record the things like a machine? Because according with this new technology, many musicians are very lazy. Don't practice a lot for the recording. So this kind of stuff. What do you think about technology into the music business now? Is it good or perhaps it's bad? Because help wants and the other prefers the organic way.
I honestly don't hate one or the other. I can understand that some bands, for example, release albums with programmed drums because recording drums is still the most expensive part of a production. And drums are hard to mix. So you need someone, that knows how to handle them. So I can understand for some people that they don't have the money to put into the production to do that kind of stuff. At least now they have the ability. Before you didn't at all. You had to deal with it the way it is. I don't think one is better the one way or the other. As long as your drummer can play all the stuff, obviously Ken records everything because we enjoy real drums that and we can afford it, so that's why we're doing it. But I think if you're programming drums to an album, at least make sure your drummer can goddamn play it live, because that's fucking terrible.
Okay. Well,
Just make sure you know how to play it.
okay. Well, Sven, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one as I did, and thank you very much for the time. Your last album is a great example of how this brutal technical, I don't know, brutal stuff. And take care during this fucking pandemic situation. Our very best wishes from this part of the world. Any last words for your fans here in Latin America? I think is waiting for the Aborted and a geek on a tour here for many years, 20 years, I think. And Argetic readers.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for the time and the interview, and I hope you guys all enjoy the new album. And we are actually working on making sure we get our asses over to Latin America. So hope to see you there on a show soon.
Okay, thank you very much, Sven.